All right, so week 7. Welcome back from Thanksgiving break. I hope you had a great time with your family. And we have a couple more weeks, and then you're going to be off for Christmas breaks, which I know you are anxious for, as always a great time for teachers to have a couple weeks or 3 weeks off, depending on what your schedule is. So let's talk about your final project. You've got the final project, which is due on December 9th. That's when you're going to present it. It's going to be 12 to 15 minutes long. Please don't go any longer than that because we have several groups and we don't want to be online all night. So 12 to 15 minutes is great. Everybody's going to take part in that presentation, just like you did in your last presentation for the staff development. Everybody's going to do a part of it because it's a group project. We want to make sure everybody's pulling their weight on it, which we don't have a problem in this class, but you want to make sure that people are okay. The whole project is worth 20 points. So you have 10 points for your presentation and then 10 points for your paper. And the paper's 3 pages long. Make sure that you include 3 references, and you're going to talk about the key changes that you made in this assessment, how the changes align with the current research, and that's where you're going to get your references in pretty easily there. How you're going to ensure that it's going to be given with fidelity. How do you make sure that every teacher is doing it the way you want? And then how are you going to grade the results back? Or is someone else going to grade it? Are they going to grade it together? So that you get accurate data back from your staff. And then how are you going to get staff motivated into giving this assessment the way it's supposed to be given? I think people have bought into the performance tasks since we have to do them. But it's new for most teachers, and teachers that have been teaching a long time. It's a very scary thing to have to do this performance task. So what support are you going to give them, and what feedback are you going to give them to help them give the test correctly and see the results so that they can use it back in their classroom? Okay, so that's worth 10 points. The presentation is worth 10 points. The paper is not due until December 12th, so you got a little bit extra time on that. That's that Friday, but I have to have it by the 12th because I have to submit grades by the 13th, so don't be late on that one. Your presentation, the PowerPoint, I need by December 8th, by 8 p.m. That way I can load it into the Adobe room and make sure it's working. So December 8th, by 8 p.m., you're going to send me your PowerPoint presentation. December 9th, you're going to present it, and December 12th, you're going to hand in your paper to me, and then you're going to be done. So if you want to practice in the Adobe room, you need to let me know. It's always a good idea to get that timing down. You just got to tell me when you want to be in the room. I'll schedule you for an hour. What I do is I set up the room, I make you guys presenters, and then I leave. So you don't have to be embarrassed that I'm watching you or anything, but it's a great idea to practice. All right. So when we talk about the next 2 chapters on Dylan Williams, and if you're a principal, I strongly suggest you do a book study with this book. This has been a very powerful book. Lots of great ideas for teachers to implement immediately, which is really nice. But he talks about feedback and how it's got to be designed to progress the learning. And he gives some really nice examples of coaches and how coaches will just say, won't just say, oh, you need to hit the ball. But they'll give you specific advice on how you can hit the ball. The kid already knows they've got to hit the ball better, but they just don't know what to do. So he'll say, raise your elbow or lean in a little bit more. Specific advice to meet those goals. My daughter's piano teacher does the same thing with her. You need to arch your fingers better, or you need to when you make this jump from this note to this note, make sure that your fingers are positioned correctly, and it helps her practice that. So as teachers, we need to do the same thing, not just write better, but give very specific feedback to the kids. He does a nice job about talking about grades and feedback and how they don't always work well together. That lots of teachers think if they give a grade and feedback, kids are going to look at the feedback, and they don't. They just look at the grade and they're done. He said that was surprising for most teachers, that they thought that they would use the feedback more powerful to just get the feedback and let people either fix their mistakes or in the next assignment use that feedback to improve what they did before, but not the grade. He had a nice quote in here on page 123 about grading, which I thought was wonderful. And it was from Paul Dressler. A grade can be regarded only as an inadequate report of an inaccurate judgment by a biased and variable judge of the extent to which a student has attained an undefined level of mastery of an unknown proportion of an indefinite material. I love that. I wish we would tell that to bring that quote into report card committees, because people get really crazy about their grades. And we know as administrators, and when you go and you visit other people's classrooms, that one teacher can be grading very differently than another teacher and teaching the same material. So the grades can be very subjective, but feedback and mastery is a better way to go. Getting people to give up academic grades completely is, wow, that would be a struggle. And I don't think that's a fight I'm going to win in my lifetime, but I would really like to see people move just to mastery. You've mastered this standard, we'll move on, or you're making progress towards this standard, but not so much a value of your intelligence, because lots of times that's what grades come down to. He talks about getting a smog certificate, and just because he got a smog certificate, his car got smogged first, doesn't mean that he was smarter or better, or he got a certificate in gold. His neighbor, if he had to go fix his car, got his car fixed and still got the same certificate. So it's just making progress toward that standard. He talks about feedback has to be direct and focused on what the learner needs to do next, not just on what they need to fix now, but what's the next learning goal for them. It has to be focused, which I think most of us already know, and it has to be related to the learning goal that the child already knows. This is where I want you to be in your essay writing, and these are the steps that we're going to do to get you there, but not so it's not a mystery to them. He also talks about students as resources for each other in the next chapter, and how we can structure that, not only to help the low achievers, because sometimes a kid can explain something better than another child, but to help our high achievers being able to give elaborate explanations, and that furthers their knowledge too. And then that last chapter, I'm not sure it's assigned, but it was a good chapter anyway. It's on metacognition and motivation, and he talks about if we can motivate children if the learning objective is high and their skills are high, they think they can do it, and structuring our lessons that way. Also talks about learning portfolios, which I think is a valuable tool. I wish somebody would develop software. Maybe we could do that. That would have a nice learning portfolio for kids so they can see their progress over years, not just their performance portfolio, the best piece that they have. With software, and we have all the storage now, we can do that for kids. We just got to have a format that works for them. I know that one of my sons had a first grade teacher, and they would do writing every day, and they'd write a sentence and they'd draw a picture every day, and then she kept it and gave it to him at the end of the year, and it was amazing. Their progress from the beginning of the year was kind of chicken scratch nonsense to the end of the year, that their great sentences and their pictures had become wonderful, and it was just such a nice visual for parents to see the progress, and for the children to see the progress that had happened over the year. All right, so you've got this week, and we have next week, and then you're done. So I'll see you next week online. If you have any questions, please email me, and I'll see you in the discussion board. Have a great evening.